Have you ever woken up after a full 8 hours of sleep and still felt completely exhausted? Like your body got the rest, but your mind never did. If that sounds familiar, you are not broken and you are not alone. Tonight, while you are sleeping, your brain and your body will do something incredible. Most people never know what it actually is. This is also great listening practice for English learners. By the end of this lesson, you will understand exactly what happens inside your mind every single night. You will know why some mornings you feel sharp and strong, and why other mornings you feel like you are walking through fog. And you will learn the simple changes that turn ordinary sleep into one of the most powerful tools you have for a longer, clearer, stronger life. Your body heals in the dark. Say that to yourself for a moment. Not in the gym. Not at your desk. Not while you are pushing through another long day on caffeine and willpower. In the dark, while you are completely still. While the world thinks you are doing nothing at all. Most people treat sleep like a pause button, something you press when the day is finally over, just to get through to tomorrow. But that is not what is actually happening. Right now, somewhere in your skull, there is a quiet, constant, almost invisible kind of work going on every single night. Your cells are repairing. Your memories are being sorted. Your hormones are resetting. Your nervous system is recalibrating itself for another day of being alive in a fast, loud, demanding world. And the strange part is almost nobody talks about it. We talk about diet. We talk about exercise. We obsess over productivity, morning routines, cold showers, 10-step plans for becoming a better version of yourself. But the one thing happening every single night for free with no app and no subscription, the one thing that touches your brain, your heart, your skin, your mood, your memory, almost gets ignored completely. So tonight that changes. We are going to walk through 7 things that happen inside you while you sleep one lesson at a time. Some of it will surprise you. Some of it might genuinely change the way you live tomorrow. By the time we are done, you will never look at a normal boring night of sleep the same way again. Think of tonight as a kind of quiet rehearsal for the rest of your life. Every choice you make in the hour before bed, every habit you repeat without thinking, is slowly shaping the kind of mind and body you will carry into your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, and beyond. None of it happens all at once. It happens one ordinary night at a time, which is exactly why it is so easy to ignore. Stay with me through tonight's lesson. Let's begin. Lesson 1. The brain's cleaning crew. Here is something almost nobody tells you. Your brain has its own cleaning crew, and it only works while you sleep. Most of us never think about maintenance until something breaks. We change the oil in a car only when a warning light comes on. We clean a kitchen only when it starts to smell. Your brain works in a similar way, except the warning light is not always obvious. It shows up as forgetfulness, as irritability over something small, as a kind of mental heaviness that coffee can mask for an hour but never actually fixes. During the day, your brain is busy. It is thinking, deciding, worrying, remembering, reacting. And all of that activity leaves something behind: tiny waste products, leftover proteins, the biological clutter of simply being awake and alive. If that waste just sat there day after day, it would slowly clog things up the same way dust and crumbs build up in a kitchen nobody ever cleans. So your body has a system for this. Scientists call it the glymphatic system, but you do not need to remember that name. Just remember what it does. While you sleep, especially in the deepest stages of the night, tiny channels around your brain open up and flush out that waste. Fluid moves through your mind like a quiet river washing away the debris from another long day of thinking. This is part of why, after a truly good night of sleep, your thoughts feel cleaner, sharper, like someone opened a window in a room that had gotten stuffy. And this is also part of why, when you cut your sleep short, your mind feels foggy the next day. You are not imagining it. You are not weak. Your cleaning crew simply did not get enough time to finish the job. The waste is still sitting there, a little, making everything feel slower, heavier, harder to focus. Think about how often you push through on 5 or 6 hours, telling yourself you will catch up later. Your brain does not store gratitude for effort. It stores leftover waste from yesterday, waiting for tonight's cleaning crew to finally show up and do its work. There is a quiet research finding behind all of this. Neuroscientist Matthew Walker, who has spent decades studying sleep, has pointed out that chronic short sleep is linked to a higher long-term risk of conditions like Alzheimer's disease. Not because sleep is a small lifestyle choice, but because over years, a brain that never gets a full cleaning starts carrying more of yesterday than it should. There is no need to fear this. You need to respect it. Tonight, when you finally close your eyes, something is going to start working. That has nothing to do with willpower or discipline. It is simply going to begin the moment your body lets it. Your brain has its own cleaning crew, and it only works while you sleep. Lesson 2. Filing today into tomorrow. Tonight, your brain will file away everything you learned today. Think about everything that happened since you woke up this morning. A conversation, a new fact, someone's name, a small mistake you do not want to repeat. All of that information is floating around in your mind right now, loose, unsorted, like papers scattered across a desk at the end of a long work day. While you are awake, your brain has no real time to organize any of it. It is too busy keeping you moving, reacting, deciding what to say next. The real filing happens later in the quiet hours, especially during a stage of sleep called REM. When your eyes move quickly behind closed lids and your mind starts working through everything you picked up during the day. Here is the stage where short-term memories get strengthened into long-term ones. Where your brain decides, almost like a careful editor, this matters, keep it, and this does not let it go. Skills you practiced, lessons you learned the hard way. Even small emotional moments get processed and stored here, which is part of why a hard day can feel a little lighter after a real night of sleep, and a little heavier after a night without one. Here is where so many people get it backwards. They treat sleep as wasted time, hours they could have spent working, studying, scrolling, finishing one more task. But sleep is not wasted time. Sleep is repair time. And for your memory specifically, it is filing time. Picture a student staying up until 3 a.m, cramming facts for tomorrow's exam. Eyes burning, coffee cup empty, telling themselves this is what dedication looks like. They walk in exhausted, and somehow the information they fought so hard to remember slips away exactly when they need it most. Not because they did not study enough, because they never gave their brain the one stage of sleep it needed to actually keep what they learned. More hours awake does not mean more learning. More cycles of real sleep does. So tonight, when you finally put your phone down and close your eyes, your brain is going to quietly go through today, deciding what stays with you for years and what gets released. You cannot control which memories it keeps, but you can control whether you give it the time to do that work at all. Tonight, your brain will file away everything you learned today. Lesson 3. The repair window. Your body repairs itself most between the hours you are unconscious. There is a window somewhere in the first few hours after you fall asleep when your body releases its highest levels of growth hormone for the entire day. This part is not about getting taller anymore, not at your age. It is about repair. Muscle fibers that worked hard today start rebuilding. Damaged tissue gets attention. Your immune system uses this window to do some of its most important maintenance, quietly strengthening your defenses against everything from a common cold to slower, longer-term wear and tear. None of this happens while you are awake and active. It happens specifically when you are still, when your body is not spending energy on movement or digestion or stress, and can finally redirect that energy into rebuilding itself. I want you to picture someone who prides themselves on being unstoppable. Let's call her a young professional, the kind of person who answers emails at midnight and is proud of it, who sees 5 hours of sleep as proof of how hard she is working. For months it seems to be working. She is getting promoted. She is getting praised. Until her body quietly starts sending signals nobody is listening to. Constant colds. Slower recovery from a simple workout. A kind of tiredness that no amount of coffee seems to touch anymore. She is not lazy. She is not weak. She is simply spending years sacrificing sleep for hustle instead of protecting sleep as the foundation that makes the hustle sustainable in the first place. If this is opening your eyes, stay until the end, because the next lesson explains exactly why catching up later does not work the way most people think. Here is the part almost nobody tells you about repair. It does not happen in the gym. It does not happen at your desk under fluorescent lights, fueled by ambition and caffeine. It happens later in the dark, when nobody is watching, when there is nothing left to prove and nowhere left to perform. Your body repairs itself most between the hours you are unconscious. So the next time you are tempted to treat 1 more hour awake as 1 more hour of progress, remember what you are actually trading it for. Not extra productivity. Extra repair, quietly given away hour by hour, night after night. Lesson 4. The debt you cannot outrun. You cannot outrun a debt you keep adding to. Back in 1964, a teenager named Randy Gardner decided to see how long he could stay awake, partly for a school science project. He pushed past 1 day, then 2, then several more, eventually staying awake for around 11 days straight. By the end, people around him noticed serious changes. His thinking slowed. His memory faltered. Simple tasks that should have taken seconds suddenly felt impossible. His brain, after enough nights without real sleep, started behaving like a machine running without enough fuel. Most of us are not staying awake for 11 days, but many of us are quietly running a smaller version of the same experiment 1 hour at a time for years. You sleep 5 hours on Monday because of a deadline, 6 on Tuesday because you could not switch your mind off, 5 again on Wednesday. Each night feels small on its own, barely worth mentioning. But your body is not measuring single nights. It is keeping a running total, a kind of invisible debt that builds quietly in the background of your life. So many people try to fix this by catching up on weekends, sleeping 10 or 11 hours on Saturday, and telling themselves the math evens out. It feels logical. Borrow during the week, repay on the weekend. But sleep debt does not work like a simple loan you can pay off in one big lump. Staying consistent every night does far more for your brain and body than one long catch-up session ever could. The damage from a week of short broken nights is not fully erased by a single long sleep. The same way one healthy meal does not erase a month of skipping breakfast. This is why you can sleep in until noon on a Sunday and still feel strangely tired by Tuesday. The debt from last week never actually disappeared. It just went quiet for a little while. Think about how this plays out across an entire year. 52 weeks of slightly short nights, each one easy to justify in the moment, slowly add up into something that no single weekend of extra sleep could ever repay. This is not about one bad week. It is about the pattern your nights quietly settle into month after month without you ever deciding it on purpose. You cannot outrun a debt you keep adding to. At some point, your body stops accepting promises about tomorrow and starts demanding payment today in the form of brain fog, irritability, a body that feels years older than it actually is. The good news is just as real as the warning. Debt that builds slowly can also shrink slowly, one steady, ordinary, unremarkable night at a time. This does not require a dramatic overhaul of your entire life. It simply requires honesty about the pattern you have been living inside of and a willingness to protect 7 or 8 hours most nights. Instead of treating sleep as the first thing you cut whenever life gets busy. Lesson 5. The clock within your body has a clock, and it does not like surprises. Deep inside your brain, there is a small cluster of cells that functions like an internal timekeeper, quietly running in the background of everything you do. Your internal clock does not need a phone alarm or a calendar reminder. It runs on something much older and much simpler than that. Light. When your eyes take in bright light, especially in the morning, your internal clock gets a clear signal. Time to wake up. Time to feel alert. Time to start the day. When light fades into darkness in the evening, your body receives the opposite signal. Time to slow down. Time to start preparing for rest. This clock controls far more than just when you feel sleepy. It influences your body temperature, your hormone release, even how hungry you feel at different points in the day. For most of human history, this system worked beautifully because there was nothing to confuse it. The sun rose, the sun set, and the body simply followed along. Now picture someone lying in bed at 2 in the morning, scrolling through their phone, the screen lighting up their face in the dark. To that person, it feels harmless, just a few more minutes before sleep. But to their internal clock, that bright light looks remarkably similar to morning sunshine. The signal gets confused. The body starts to wonder if it is actually time to wake up, even though it is the middle of the night. This is part of why so many people lie in bed, feeling strangely wired right before sleep, scrolling restless wide awake long after they intended to fall asleep. It is rarely about willpower. It is about a clock that just received the wrong instructions. Your body has a clock, and it does not like surprises. It likes rhythm. Going to bed at roughly the same time, waking up at roughly the same time, getting real daylight, especially earlier in the day. None of this requires perfection. It simply requires consistency, the kind of steady, predictable pattern your internal clock can actually trust. When you give your body that rhythm, something quiet starts to shift. Falling asleep stops feeling like a fight. It starts feeling like the natural next step in a day that already knows where it is going. Lesson 6. The hour before sleep. What you do before bed decides what your brain does after. Picture someone we will call the restless sleeper. She gets her 8 hours every night like clockwork. On paper, she is doing everything right. And yet, morning after morning, she wakes up feeling like she barely slept at all. Heavy eyes, a foggy mind, a strange tiredness that no amount of hours seems to fix. For a long time, she assumed something was simply wrong with her. Bad genetics, bad luck. Just one of those people who needs more sleep than everyone else. What she never noticed was the hour right before bed, the one part of her day she had stopped paying attention to completely. Bright lights on until the second she closed her eyes. A phone screen inches from her face, scrolling through other people's lives. Stressful messages answered at 11 at night, her mind still spinning through tomorrow's problems as she finally lay down. She was not just falling asleep. She was crashing, exhausted with her nervous system still wide awake. This is the part almost nobody connects. Scrolling your phone before bed feels relaxing in the moment, but it is quietly teaching your nervous system to stay alert exactly when it needs to power down. Building a real wind-down ritual, even a short one, teaches your body the opposite. It is safe now. It is time to let go. So she changed one thing. Just one. 30 minutes before sleep, the phone went into another room. Lights dimmed. A few pages of a book, sometimes nothing more than sitting quietly in the dark. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that required discipline of steel. Within 2 weeks, something shifted. She started falling asleep faster, waking up without that thick, foggy feeling pressing down on her morning. Not because she slept more hours, because the hour leading into sleep finally matched what her brain needed to actually rest. Your body heals in the dark, but only if you let it arrive there calmly, instead of dragging your stress in with you. What you do before bed decides what your brain does after. Not the supplement, not the perfect mattress. The 30 quiet minutes almost everyone skips without a second thought. Lesson 7. Sleep and a longer life. People who sleep well live longer. This is not an opinion. This is biology. You have probably heard the legend before. Thomas Edison, the great inventor, was famous for boasting that he barely slept at all. Sometimes claiming just 4 or 5 hours a night proof, he said, of how driven he was. For decades, that story became a kind of badge of honor for ambitious people everywhere. Sleep, less achieve more. But here is what most retellings of that story leave out. Edison was also known for taking short naps throughout the day, tucked into a cot in his workshop, quietly making up for some of what his nights never gave him. The myth kept the bragging. It dropped the naps. This matters because the idea that successful people simply need less sleep has shaped how millions of us live, pushing through exhaustion, treating rest as something only weaker, less driven people require. Meanwhile, the actual research tells a very different story. Years of studies across different countries and different populations keep pointing toward the same pattern. People who consistently sleep too little face a higher long-term risk of heart disease, weakened immunity, and earlier cognitive decline. Not occasionally after one rough week. Consistently across years as the nightly cost quietly adds up. Picture your own future for a moment. Not next week. 10 years from now. 20 years from now. Picture the version of you who is still sharp, still strong, still able to think clearly and move through the world with energy. That version of you is not built only in the gym or at the dinner table. It is being built slowly every single night in the hours when you are completely unconscious and entirely unaware it is even happening. This is the part that deserves more attention than it gets. We focus heavily on diet. We focus heavily on exercise. We treat both like the obvious pillars of a long, healthy life. Sleep belongs right beside them, not as an afterthought, but as a third foundation holding the other two up. People who sleep well live longer. This is not an opinion. This is biology quietly proving itself one ordinary night at a time. Nobody is asking you to chase 8 perfect hours every single night for the rest of your life. You are simply being asked to stop treating sleep as the enemy of ambition and start treating it as one of the quiet conditions that makes a long, capable, clear-headed life even possible. So let's bring it all together. Tonight while you sleep, your brain's own cleaning crew goes to work washing away the mental clutter of another day. Tonight, your brain files away everything you learned, deciding what stays with you for years. Your body repairs itself most between the hours you are unconscious, rebuilding what the day wore down. You cannot outrun a debt you keep adding to, no matter how many weekends you try to catch up. Your body has a clock, and it thrives on rhythm, not surprises. What you do before bed decides what your brain does after often more than any supplement ever could. And people who sleep well live longer. Not as an opinion, as biology. You do not need more willpower. You need more rest. That single sentence might be the most honest thing you hear all week. We live in a world that praises pushing harder, sleeping, less grinding through exhaustion, as if it were a virtue. But your brain and your body never agreed to that deal. They were quietly asking for rest the entire time, and most of us simply stopped listening. You do not have to fix everything tonight, nor do you need a perfect routine, or an expensive mattress, or 8 flawless hours starting this evening. You just need to start respecting the dark the way your body always has, even when you forgot to. One small change tonight. One slightly earlier light off. One phone left in another room. That is enough to begin. The cleaning crew, the filing system, the repair window, the clock inside you, none of them are asking for perfection. They are simply asking to be let in. Your body heals in the dark. It always has. It is simply waiting for you to give it the chance. Keep listening, keep growing, and keep coming back for more lessons made for English learners. So tell me honestly, what time did you go to bed last night? Write it in the comments below, no judgment, just honesty. And if tonight you go to sleep a little earlier than usual, even by 30 minutes, know that somewhere inside you, the cleaning crew, the filing system, the repair window, the clock, all of it will quietly thank you for it. Good night, and take care of the mind that takes care of you.